नैनं चिन्नन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावका न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुता. श्रीमद भगवद्गीतेच्या दुसऱ्या अध्याय 23व्या श्लोकामध्ये हे दिलं आहे की आत्मा अमर आहे. आत्मा आगीने जळला जाऊ शकत नाही, पाण्यामध्ये तो भिजवला जाऊ शकत नाही, वाऱ्याने तो सुकवला जाऊ शकत नाही आणि शस्त्रास्त्रांनी त्याला मारता येत नाही. मग ते हे सगळं मी इथे का सांगतोय, चला बघूया. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ द टुडेज लेक्चर, electrostatic lecture second. So in last lecture we already studied about the quantization of charge and additive nature of the charge. So in this lecture we are talking about the conservation of charges and the force between the charges. So let's start with the conservation of charges. So what is mean by conservation of charge? So just now I told you, right? So atma amar hai, it cannot destroy. Like that, charge is also conserved. It's not amar, it's a conserve. Okay, so conservation of charge. So charge is conserved. What it means? We cannot destroy the charge. We cannot destroy the charge. We cannot create also. We cannot create also. But total charge of the system always remains constant, or you can say it will always remain conserved. But it can transfer from one body to another body. That's why it said Atma can go from one body to another body. Like that, charge can transfer from one body to another body. So what is the statement of conservation of charge? The charge cannot be created nor be destroyed, but it can transfer from one body to another body. This is the statement of conservation of charge, in which it gives us that charge cannot be destroyed, charge cannot be created, but it can transfer from one body to another body. That's why the total charge of the system is going to be constant. So here we are going to consider let's take an example of isolated system in which Q1 charge is there, which is having 100 coulomb charge, and another body 2 which consists of minus 50 coulomb charge. So if we want to take the total charge of the system, the total charge of the system is nothing but net charge on the Q1 plus net charge on the Q2. This we have learned in last lecture. We can add the two charges. So we can say the net charge on the first body is plus 100 coulomb and net charge on the second body, that is minus 50 coulomb. So we have to add minus 50 over here. So total charge in the system that we are going to get, that is 50 coulomb. That is 50 coulomb. Now if we transferred some 50 coulomb charge from body 1 to body 2, so what is going to happen? If we consider after transferring the 50 coulomb charge from 1 to 2, then charge in the system, initially 100 coulomb charge was there and we have transferred 50 coulomb charge to second body. So what will happen? 100 was the initial charge over here, 50 coulomb has a decrease, so net charge on the Q1, that will become 100 minus 50. 100 minus 50. That will be the net charge on the first body. Now already on the second body minus 50 coulomb charge was there and 50 coulomb charge is transferred on the second body. So what will happen? There will be a Q2 dash charge on the body, and how much it will be? Initially minus 50 coulomb was present. Now we have added the charge, so plus 50 coulomb. So we can get minus 50 plus 50, that is 0. So finally 100 minus 50, 50 plus 0, that is 50 coulomb. So what happened? Initially whatever charge was there in the system, the same charge we are getting after transfer on the another body also, and that is 50 coulomb. So we can see that in the isolated system, even though charge is transferred from one body to another body, the net charge in the system remain same, that is net charge is conserved, and this is called as conservation of charge. Now let's start with the next point, that is forces between the charges. So in lower standard already we have learned these things. If we consider the positive charges, they will always repel each other. If we consider negative charges, they will always repel each other. But if we consider unlike charges, like positive charge over here and negative charge here, they will attract each other. Means two like charges will always repel and two unlike charges will always attract each other. So this is the nature of the force which can be applied by like charges and unlike charges, right? Now this force is studied by Coulomb, right? And during his study he found that whatever forces are there between the two charges, they are proportional to the product of that charges. So in this case, if we consider Q1 charge and Q2 charge, which are very small point charges, right, which are separated by some distance r12, then we can say that force is directly proportional to the product of two charges. Obviously you can also see these things. If we are increasing the charge, more charge will be there, more force of attraction will be there, or more force of repulsion will be there, right? The strength of that charges will determine the force between them, right? And what he found, that force is directly proportional to the product of that charge, right? Second thing is once again obvious. If we change the distance between two charges, what will happen? Automatically the force between them has to decrease. So Coulomb had studied these things and he found that force of attraction or repulsion is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them, and it is also called as inverse square law. It is also called as inverse square law. So basically if we combine both the statement that the force of attraction or repulsion between the two charges is directly proportional to the product of charges, and it is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them, right? So we can combinedly write force is directly proportional to Q1 into Q2 divided by R12 square, that is the distance between that two charges. So if I want to remove the proportionality sign, we need to consider the proportionality constant, and here we are going to consider K as the proportionality constant. So this K is called as Coulomb's constant, right? And its value can be given as 1 by 4 pi epsilon, where pi we already know, but epsilon is the new term for us, and that is called as permittivity of the medium. So briefly I will tell what is permittivity. Permittivity is the property of medium. It is the property of medium which is going to allow the electric field lines to pass through it. Okay, in details we are going to learn these things later, but as of now just remember, it is the property of material which will allow the electric field lines to pass through it, right? So if we consider different mediums, different materials, they will have different permittivity, right? Now epsilon naught, this symbol is called as epsilon. So epsilon naught is the permittivity of the free space. Means in vacuum, what will be the permittivity? Its value is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 SI unit, right? That unit also we can find out. But as of now, just remember epsilon naught value is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 unit. Now, if I put this 8.85 value in this equation, so we can get Coulomb's constant for the free space. Means if there is a medium between these two charges is free space, or we can say that two charges are kept inside the vacuum, then we can say the K value will be equals to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and if you put this 8.85 into 10 power minus 12 value over here, we can get the Coulomb's constant, that is K, and its value will be equals to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, right? So basically if the charges are kept in vacuum, whatever force of attraction or repulsion between them is there, the same force of attraction or repulsion we cannot get in air or in any other medium, because the permittivity of that particular medium will be different. Okay, let's start with the definition of 1 Coulomb. So what is Coulomb? Coulomb is the unit of charge, right? So how much is the 1 Coulomb charge? That we want to define. What we want to define? How much is the 1 Coulomb charge? So how we are going to define? We'll take same amount of two charges, right? Let us say Q. So we have taken Q charge on one body, Q charge on another body, and we have kept that two charges in the vacuum, at a 1 meter distance apart. So two Q charges are separated by 1 meter, right? So they will have certain force of repulsion between them, right? So we will change this Q value in such a way that whatever force in between them is there, that is 9 into 10 to the power 9, right? So if two charges are separated, two same charges are separated by a distance 1 meter apart, and the force between them is 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton, then that charge is said to be 1 coulomb. How? If I put F is equals to 9 into 10 to the power 9, right? K value is 9 into 10 to the power 9. Then R12 we have kept at 1 meter, means this value is 9 into 10 to the power 9. This value is 9 into 10 to the power 9. This value is 1. So obviously we can get Q1 into Q2, that is equals to 1. That is equals to 1. So Q and Q, we have already told they are the same charges, so we can say Q square is equals to 1, which will leads us Q is equals to 1 SI unit, and that SI unit is coulomb, right? So this is the definition of 1 coulomb. So definition of 1 coulomb, I am repeating again: whenever two same charges are separated by 1 meter distance apart in vacuum, and the force between them is 9 into 10 to the power 9, then that charge is equals to 1 coulomb, and this is the definition of 1 coulomb. So in today's lecture we have learned about the forces between the charges, Coulomb's law in scalar form, and the definition of charge. In next lecture we are going to learn about the Coulomb's law vector form, and we are going to learn about the superposition theorem. So we can be able to find out whenever there are more than two charges how force is going to vary and how we are going to calculate it. So stay tuned, stay blessed. Thanks for watching. Thank you.